Welcome to Tuesday, July 19th, 2022. Your Day with the Podcast is being brought to you by Cowboy State Daily. Cowboy State Daily is more original Wyoming news content than any other news organization in the state. Cowboy State Daily, sign up for their daily newsletter and check them out on their Facebook page. Well, we've got a lot of heat from yesterday. Boy, you can see these are temperatures as of late yesterday afternoon and evening. Anywhere you see the pinkish, purplish colors there, you had temperatures above 100 degrees. So you can see the tongue of heat going well up into the northern plains, the central plains, and of course back into the Central Valley of California, then into the Great Basin areas. So a very large area of the United States yesterday in the 90s and 100s. But the heat is going to be backing off a bit. Drier air is going to move in. One thing the drier air will do is it will make the next two nights cooler. I know a lot of you have been thinking, wow, it's been stuffy at night, not cooling off, but the next two nights you'll have some better temperatures. The drier air also means that the monsoon is going to be suppressed to the south for now. We saw some heavy rain over the last few days down in parts of the desert southwest, especially into Arizona. That's where the moisture will kind of get bottled up into the southern Rockies and Great Basin for the next few days. Temperatures are still going to be very warm. Yes, a cool front's come through, but it's still going to be warm to hot, but we're not going to be as extreme as what we saw yesterday and on Sunday. The monsoon moisture begins to creep northward again into the central and northern Rockies beginning Friday through the weekend, and maybe there's going to be some episodes of that monsoon moisture in place next week. Also, I want to talk briefly about the European heat wave that a lot of you are probably hearing on the news. This is where we are today. Kind of got dueling low pressure and high pressure systems. High pressure centered right near Gallup there. And then we've got this low going across the Dakotas, dragging that cool front through. The most active severe weather will be along the U.S.-Canadian border and in the northern lakes. But notice that the winds aloft are not coming out of the deserts, but rather coming in from the northwest United States. That's why the air will be drier, somewhat cooler as it comes on through. The clockwise flow around the high will bottle up the monsoon moisture more to the west and southwest of the area. And you can really see that. Look at this area of dryness coming in behind the front. And then you can see the contrast up here with the moisture and the dry air. That's where the severe weather is going to be with that low up there in eastern North Dakota. Then you can see the green and the blues backed up here and kind of stuck in this area here. So the air is going to be drying out, and you're going to see thunderstorms in these green areas here, where that suppression of that drier air right here is kind of going to divide the thunderstorms up here, where severe weather is going to be possible today, and the more general thunderstorms out here in the southwestern United States. By Thursday, high pressure begins to still drift a little more westward, right? Just about south of Page, Arizona there. Now the subtropical moisture, though, is going to start to arch its way and come all the way around full circle around the high, but really stay bottled up in the southwestern United States through Thursday. And you can see still on Thursday, the Pacific Northwest, the Northern Rockies, and the Northern Plains still dominated by all that brown, some really dry air, while that moisture is still bottled up right here. However, as we get beyond Thursday, things will change. So you can see where the thunderstorms are being forecasted to form over the next 3 days. Colorado, you're still going to have some afternoon and evening thunderstorms. Down into the southern plains, a little bit of activity. Heavier thunderstorms will be down into New Mexico and parts of southern and southeastern areas of Arizona. And then you can see the thunderstorm activity up here. So you can see where the dry air is dominating right now. That will change, though. This is for Sunday. Notice the high now is going east. It's about over Alamosa. It's starting its wobble back to the east. With this little low right here and this high working together, then the flow of moisture starts to get deeper and comes on in from the southwest, and there it is. This is by Sunday. So by Sunday, a deeper arch of monsoonal moisture comes back into Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, the southwestern United States, up here in the southern Montana, western South Dakota, western Nebraska. This is going to lead to an uptick in thunderstorm coverage this weekend. More thunderstorm coverage means more clouds, higher humidity air, which will keep temperatures from being too extreme or too hot, although they'll be plenty warm. By next Tuesday, the high now is back over leaving Arizona and New Mexico and is now into the southern plains, so the door is wide open to that subtropical moisture flow. Now notice another low here in Canada. There is a fair amount of cool air associated with this system right here. We'll have to watch to see whether or not this punches in mid to late next week and brings a cold front through. But at least through early next week, that monsoonal moisture flow is deep on Tuesday across a lot of the Rockies and the Plain states. Underneath the high here, though, dry, hot conditions. This is where the heat and the dryness will be the most widespread. But here is your ring of fire beginning to form again as we get on into the weekend and next week. And there it is. This is the precipitation forecast through the next 10 days. So you can see that arch of subtropical moisture around that high going to produce those areas of showers and thunderstorms. So while thunderstorm activity over the next 3.5 days is pretty low, mainly down into Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, and Arizona, it starts to creep northward next week. And I wanted to show you this. I talked about that Canadian low up there could send some cooler air south. This is by next weekend, the 30th of July. See the blue and the green here? Actually, a pretty good cool front heading into the nation's midsection, suppressing the heat more down to the south. Now, some of this cool air will get further south, maybe into Texas by next weekend. We'll see. So there could be some mid-continent relief from the heat as we go into the end of July, staring down into the first couple of days of August. We'll keep an eye on that for you. Now, I wanted to talk a little about this European heat wave that's gathering headlines, and with good reason. Basically, when you get a high like this, you get surface winds that bring dry heat off the European continent into France, into the UK, into Germany, but also the air is also coming up out of the African Sahara. So what tends to happen is you get that heat, and the heat is getting funneled right up like this underneath the high. So temperatures as of this morning in London were in the upper 90s. Record-breaking temperatures will be noted there again today, but there's a change coming. You see this low here, and this low here. Look what happens as we go a couple of days forward. After today, here's the heat relative to average. Notice, though, it's just as cold relative to average to the hot weather in the UK and France and Spain and parts of Germany right now. This diametric cold and warm next to each other happens actually all the time, but you're not hearing about this. But this is unseasonably cold, this is unseasonably hot. But what'll happen is the low begins to move in off the Atlantic into Europe. We have this low here, and so what'll happen is the heat wave will expand eastward into the more eastern areas of Europe, while colder than average temperatures move back into western Russia, far eastern Europe. And then as we get into the northwest flow behind that low, temperatures will cool off significantly here by Thursday of this week. So really beginning tomorrow and into Thursday and Friday, the UK and France get a break from the heat, but you can see where the heat's going to be here, but really unseasonably cold on the backside of the high there. Have yourself a really good Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow.